So hi guys, welcome to our hug today, our HubSpot user group specific for education. I am Amy Martos. I'm one of the senior marketing executives here at HubGym, and I'm joined by Ollie, who will be hosting today's event. So we will be leveling up your marketing automation tools for college marketing teams. And I am here predominantly just for the chat. I will be answering any questions and taking any notes while Ollie takes you through the session.
All right, fantastic. Yeah, thank you. Cool. Okay, so yeah, we're going to be going over a few different like automated like processes and things that you can set up in HubSpot to basically improve the way that your college functions and works. So to kind of briefly go over the kind of topics that we're going to cover this morning, we've got workflows and sequences. So basically discovering how HubSpot can automate various like marketing tasks, personalized email campaigns, lead nurturing, event follow-ups, data management, all of that stuff to kind of save you and your college's team valuable time. We'll also be looking at customization and personalisation. So with those automated messages and communications, how you can, you know, automate those and personalize them automatically to kind of improve open rates and leverage HubSpot's full potential. We'll also look at chatbots for to some extent, which is a feature that can help streamline your communication, ensure consistent messaging, generate instant responses, and save you time in addressing common inquiries. And then we're going to wrap things up by just going over campaigns as well, which are basically a way to manage and view your marketing efforts, right, and see how successful they actually were. So without further ado, we can get started. So I guess we can get started with workflows and sequences. So yeah, there are a few HubGem employees in here in the chat, and I'm sure you guys can testify that workflows, they're probably the best tool inside of HubSpot, or at least in my humble opinion, they are. And yeah, workflows are really, really useful. And essentially, what they are is it's an automated tool that allows you to set up a series of automated tasks triggered by specific criteria, right? So it's a really useful tool that can be used to automate communications or updating data in your HubSpot account. Like a very common example could be someone fills out your inquiry form for your college, send a thank you email immediately after that, right? So I'll show a few examples, but just to give some context as to what a workflow is. A sequence, on the other hand, it's quite similar, but yeah, a HubSpot sequence is a sales automation tool designed to help sales teams streamline their outreach and follow-up processes, right? So, there's a lot of, I guess, sales phrases there, but a sequence can be used basically to help streamline like an administrative task or set of tasks by like an admissions team. So I guess the main difference between the two is that sequences are strictly for automating follow-ups for like a one-to-one email basis, whereas workflows are designed for more large-scale automation, right? And also, sequences are more tied in directly to communications, whereas workflows can perform actions to update records or create an association between records. So, whilst I guess to an extent workflows or sequences, sorry, are slightly overshadowed by workflows, I think there's still a good use case for both inside education. And we'll go through some examples of these so I can kind of show you how they are in action. So if we start with workflows, I'll just go over to HubSpot, and you should be able to see here an example of a workflow that I've got set up. It's a really simple example, but it's kind of like I'd explained earlier, right? So if someone fills out an inquiry form for your college, we could send a marketing email to them, thanking them for their submission, giving them more information on their specific course, etc. So that's just one example of a super simple workflow. I also have a couple of other examples, right? So this is kind of like an event-based workflow. So yeah, if you didn't know already, you can actually host events within HubSpot. And by doing that, you can send all the comms necessary surrounding that, right? So in this example, we have someone that submitted an open day form. And when they do, we can have like specific date actions which wait or delay on a certain date, right? So you could say, a week before the event, send 1 week before our open event email, right? 1 day before, our open event is tomorrow. And then, based on whether or not they did or didn't attend, so based on like property data that we have on them in our HubSpot account, we can then send them different comms depending on, how they interacted or if they did or didn't attend an event. And even create tasks and notifications for your admissions team in order to kind of follow up on any queries if they come up. So that's like another example. And then if I just go over to this tab as well, we can also see that someone had filled out an inquiry form. We can send them down, for example, a lead nurturing workflow, right? So this is for like an arts course, so you can maybe have a workflow for the different courses that your college offers, and you can send them emails with delays between, right? Which basically will try and engage the lead and keep in touch with them, and then based on criteria of if we think they have or haven't engaged, right? So send since last engagement is less than 3. Then we can send them different communications depending on that. Maybe we want to remove them from the mailing list if they haven't engaged or opened any emails, because that could be hurting your open rates and your email health. So this is really useful. Um, Another thing that you can do within this workflow as well is that you could actually add a goal as well. So if I go under edit here, we can edit goal, and we could add a goal to say if someone has filled out an application form, for example, take them out of this workflow. Because in that case, once they're enrolled, we might not want people to completely go down a branch that we don't want them to go to or receive comms that they don't want. So those are some example of workflows. I do realize actually, I think I've skipped ahead a second. So what I've said might not have made complete sense without context. So hopefully this will be a bit useful to kind of, I don't know, make sense of what I've just kind of gone through. But a workflow can essentially be split into 2 different main sections, I guess. That being enrollment and actions, right? So enrollment is basically how records enter the workflow. So that's what I was showing in the demo for someone submitting a form, for example, that could enroll them into the workflow. And then your actions are essentially what happens afterwards, right? So send an email or check if someone has opened this email and then perform a different action. So that's kind of how a workflow is split up, right? So an enrollment is how they go into the workflow, and actions are everything that happens after they've been put into the workflow. Um, there's probably not enough time in the hug to go over all of the workflow features in half an hour, especially because we want to cover off some other things. But hopefully that gives some context as to what a workflow can do and how it might be able to help your college. So we can move on to sequences next. So a sequence is really similar to workflows in the fact that it can kind of be split into both enrollment and actions again. However, there are a few different differences and nuances. So to begin with, a sequence is, I guess, its enrollment is a bit more simplistic because you choose from your list of contacts of who you want to enroll. So you could either have a list of contacts, or you could select them manually from a list of everyone that exists, and you basically manually enroll people into the sequence when you feel like you want to basically, I don't know, send them the communications, or they're at that point relevant to receive things from the sequence itself. So yeah, basically that's how you enroll, and then there's a list of different actions, right? So you can choose from a selection of steps to follow on from the last with delays in between. So kind of similar to workflows again, but a little bit different just because the actions, there's only like 4 main actions that you can pick in a sequence, and then you can select delays between those for communications that are sent. Um, I guess the most important difference between a sequence and a workflow is that when someone interacts with communications in the sequence, they'll be automatically unenrolled, right? So if they open an email, if they book a meeting, if a call outcome on their record is moved to complete, they'll unenroll from the sequence because they've engaged, and then it's down to your admissions team to kind of follow up manually and add a bit of a personal touch. So yeah, but I'd still say there are use cases for sequences, and we can have a look at an example that I've got set up. Sorry, that was the wrong tab, and I can show you a sequence example. So this is one that I've just kind of set up in our demo account. So as you can see underneath here, I've got some different steps, right? So if I just go to this steps section, you can see that I've got a bunch of like different emails, right? So one email trying to entice someone to apply for a course at the college. Then we've got a delay between, for another email. One day after that, if the person is still in the sequence, we can, ask a member of the team to kind of call the contact and try and engage them. And then, failing that, then we can update the contact status, right? If they're lost or if they're a cold lead at that point. But if someone were to engage with, with any of the comms in the sequence at any point, they'd be taken out and unenrolled from the sequence. So yeah, hopefully that kind of, I don't know, demonstrates what a sequence is and how it might be quite useful. So if I just go back over here, we can go on to our next tab, which is just on personalization and customization. So basically, within a workflow or a sequence that we've just kind of covered, what you can do is you can personalize the content in those automatic email sends in a couple of different ways. Those being through personalization tokens and through smart content, right? So you can see in the screenshots on the presentation now that you can use a personalization token to use someone's details that we have on them in HubSpot in order to kind of tailor the content to them, which can help with engagement and open rates, right? So you can see in this top screenshot here, this sequence has dear contact title, first name, last name. So if we have that data available to use in our HubSpot account for that record, it will use that data to populate the email, right? So if this was an email sent to Amy, for example, it would say, Dear Amy, which is really useful. You can do the same thing in a marketing email as well, right? So if you're doing it, setting up communications through a workflow and you're using marketing emails, you can do the same thing, which you can see in this bottom right-hand side here. But what you can also take advantage of is smart content, which I can demo in our account. But essentially, smart content is a way that we can alter images or entire sections of your email based on someone's information that we have on them in their account. So if I just jump back over into HubSpot and I just edit this example email, I should be able to show you an example. So as you can see here, smart content is kind of indicated by this little tab at the top right of a section. If I click into that, I can see this default tab and I can basically switch between different lists. So if we wanted our thank you email to have a different image per your college's course, then you can do that, or per year group or year of entry, you name it, you can do it, right? As long as you have that data available in HubSpot and you can make a list with that, then you can alter the content of your email, based on, someone's interest or what you think might be the best thing to show them. So that's obviously really useful. You can do you can also see on this section here, we also have personalization tokens in use just like we did with our sequence. So, dear first name, last name. And again, if we have the data available, in our account, we can use a personalization token. So whether that is their course of interest or their year group of entry, right, we can use that and pull that data in to personalize the content of our automatic email send. It's also kind of worth noting that you can actually use these within subject lines and preview text as well. So, having someone's name in the actual email subject line can be good because it can spark engagement and entice someone to click, right? So they don't have to click onto your email to see it. So this can really help with open rates. And another thing I'm not going to delve too deep into right now, but we also have some new Breeze AI tools with HubSpot as well. So you can even automate, the creation of subject lines and preview text for your communications, right, from your college. So there's loads of different ways that you can automate and personalize your college's content. So we will move on to chatbots, and chatbots are, I think they're really interesting, and they've received like quite a big update recently. So yeah, chatbots are essentially they're widgets that can be added onto your website in order to answer visitor queries, right? So you might have seen them on some popular websites before. Essentially, you can the little text bubble that might appear on the bottom right hand side of a website. That is, kind of what a chatbot functions as, and it can be set up in order to answer visitor queries either automatically, which we'll look at in quite a lot of depth, or you can set up like a live agent as well. So that's the first option that you kind of see on the slide there. So you still have the option in HubSpot to have an actual member of your team answering, questions from web visitors. But obviously, this can be quite time consuming, and there are ways that you can like automate and streamline this to make your life a bit easier and save some time. Which is when we see these other two options, the customer agent and the rules-based chatbot. So yeah, essentially a customer agent, sorry, that's quite a new feature. It's another Breeze AI feature, and essentially this is a way that you can set up an AI. You can feed it lots of information from different web pages. It will learn from that, and then it can generate a conversation with a contact. And then, if someone were to ask questions, they can have a real conversation with this bot that can, I guess, like refer them to different web pages or help answer queries based on the information that you give it. And then we have a rules-based chatbot, which is a bit more traditional but still automated. And essentially, this will it's kind of similar, but you can give it prompts, right? So you can ask you can give the chatbot a list of prompts. So how can I help? I want to sign up for an open day. I want to know more about this course. And then based on what this person clicks on, it can provide information. So it's a little bit less like a conversation, but it can still be really in depth. And, if you build into a chat flow and invest into that, it can definitely help save a lot of time. So again, yeah, we'll just go into demo this so I can show you what this looks like. But what I'll start with really quickly is just the customer agent, because this is something that will need to be configured if you're wanting to use the customer agent chat tool. So essentially what you do is over on this content tab, you can feed your customer agent lots of information. So you add content, it could be a file, could be HubSpot content, it could be a public URL, right? So your college's web pages, and then from that, it will create kind of like an index. It will learn from these sources, and then it can use them as answers within a conversation with a person. So once this is all set up, if I just go over to the customer agent chatbot section here. So this is an example of one we got set up, and this will basically be on standby based on the information we give it to answer customer queries. So if I just ask it as an example, how do I submit an application? based on the information that we've given it. It can answer the question, provide links. Obviously, this is something that I'd recommend testing quite thoroughly, because the AI will kind of use its own intuition to an extent to answer things, but it will be based off data you give it. I just think it would be worthwhile kind of testing it just to make sure that it's giving you the answers that you're looking for. But this is a really new and exciting tool, and one that I think is definitely worth taking advantage of. If I just go over to this tab, though, I can show you how a rules-based chatbot works, and this is through a chat flow. So basically, a chat flow is, well, it's kind of like a workflow and chatbot together. So it's basically a sequences of actions and responses that the chatbot takes, right? So in this example, it will ask, have you got any questions? Hi, how can I help you today? And you can see I've added a list of different prompts that someone can select relevant to college, right? And then based on their examples, we can branch on that and then provide tailored responses based on this. So if I preview this, you'll be able to see that, on the opening message, it will ask if it can help in any way. If I want to learn more about open days, then it can learn from that, or not learn from that, sorry. It will be prompted from the branch itself, and then it will provide a link for me to fill out an open day form, for example. And again, this is something that you can test directly within HubSpot without having to embed it onto your actual website. And this can be really in depth, right? So I've only got a really simple top level demo here, but based on these responses, you can then prompt other answers, and the possibilities are kind of endless. So yeah, this is another one definitely worth looking at. I think it's definitely worth having a play around with a customer agent, just because it's quite new and exciting. But if that's not kind of going the way you want, or it's not providing the answers that you want, you can choose what a chatbot answers using a rules-based chatbot and chat flows. So yeah, we'll just finish on campaigns, right? So this is basically kind of everything that we've gone over. Can be compiled into a campaign, right? So basically, we can track the performance of the marketing assets that we've kind of gone through. So the stuff that we've gone through today, right? Like workflows, sequences, call to actions, maybe ads, social posts, form submissions, events, the list goes on. You can add those as assets into a campaign, and then basically report on the success of that. So if your college is, doing a Q2 or Q3 marketing campaign, you can assign those assets or forms or emails, all of those assets to that campaign, and then HubSpot will generate reports automatically and kind of show you the success of your marketing efforts. So yeah, I wouldn't say this is strictly like an automated HubSpot tool, but it does create like reports automatically, and it can definitely save time rather than you having to, export student data from whatever system you're using, put them in an Excel spreadsheet, find out that they're wrong, and then have to change everything and go through it step by step again. I think that this is a real like time saver, and it reports on live data in the account, right? So you're not having to export and import data. Anything that's in HubSpot, you can report on within a marketing campaign. So if I just go back into HubSpot here, sorry, you can see an example of a campaign that I've set up within HubSpot, right? So what we can do here is the first step would be to add assets, and then we could add emails, call to action forms, social posts, tracking URLs, events, all of that to this, and then it will create reports based on the success and what basically you attributed the most return of investment, based on its performance. I'm pretty sure everything on here, um, everything that we've gone over today, sorry, should be included to use within a marketing campaign, maybe with the exception of chatbots, which I can't see on this list. But if that was embedded onto like a URL, for example, you could still use that, right? If it was a UTM and use a tracking URL to review the performance of that. But yeah, once you've selected all your assets, you'll get loads of reports here. Obviously, ours are looking a bit bare bones because it's just in the demo account. But essentially, you get loads of reports that you can use that give you information on your marketing efforts, right? So you can see what's worked, what hasn't worked, and then tailor your college's content, around what was successful, right? So you can even see interactions by contacts created, contacts that were influenced, which is basically like who was created from, an asset in this campaign. So it was a form submission, for example. So yeah, loads of useful information on here, which I think is worth taking advantage of. And if you're using HubSpot for your marketing needs and purposes, then you may as well use a campaign to report on that. It makes sense, and yeah, it's quite quick and easy to do. So I think that is kind of everything that we were going to cover off today. So I guess I'll hand back over to you, Amy, if there have been any questions.
Yes, hand back over to me. That is great. So yes, quick question. What happens if you use personalization token and someone doesn't have like their first name known?
Right. Yeah. No, that's a good question. Basically, what you can do is use like a default value. So in HubSpot, if first name doesn't exist for whatever reason, you can replace that with a default bit of text that will appear instead. So instead of hello first name, your default value could be there, right? So it says hello there instead. Obviously, in an ideal world, you'd want first name for all of the contacts in your account, but yeah, there are ways in HubSpot that you can tailor that basically, if that data doesn't exist. Hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, perfect. Right. Well, other than
Cool.
that, we have no questions. So yes, that kind of wraps up for today. If you want to move on, Ollie, yes, so with your recording, when you get the email tomorrow, you will get a list of resources. So within this, you will get 2 HubGem resources, which you can find on our blog, and there will be links to these in the email. These have been chosen specifically to kind of go with this hug today. You will also be given a HubGem resource, which is an ebook, a guide to education integrations, which is specific to marketing and admissions, and of course a HubSpot resource. And we've created a wee blog for you there to have a wee look at, just if you want some additional information. And then moving on, we have, of course, got our marketing emissions blog on the HubGem website. So please feel free to log on to that, have a wee look, and there's an abundance of resources and kind of information there which you may find useful. Yeah, and again on our website as well, we have plenty of resources which you could utilise. And every month we do a hug, so look out for the next one, which will be coming in April. And yeah, so also previous hugs, which you can all find on our YouTube channel. So yeah, moving on from that, we also have a HubSpot user group for education community on LinkedIn, and I highly recommend you all to log on and request to join that. It's a great place for networking and kind of going back and forth with other kind of organizations, other education organizations, and kind of jumping questions back and forth on there. So yes, I would definitely encourage you to join that. But other than that, we thank you so much for joining us. Ollie, that was great. I really appreciate you hosting that there. You did a great job, so thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it was fun to do, and yeah, hope everyone found that useful.